Hi, this is Sequoia from sequoialensews.wordpress.com, and I'm back today with my second video tutorial working with the Dotty Mini Purse sew along. And if you joined me a few days ago, you will have seen us prepare the blocks for the outside panels. And today I'm going to show you kind of the next step. So I have already prepared my binding tape, which will become the top portion. But we don't need it to stay, I just set it aside. I've already made my inner bag lining out of this fun flannel because I really just love the way it worked with the denim. But we can set it aside. And today we're going to work with our panels. As you can see, I have already completed my 4 patchwork panels, which we talked about the other day, and my 2 solid squares, which will become the bag bottom, and I have stitched those all together. And as you can see, I didn't put a fusible, I use fusible fleece typically inside my bags, but with the denim, all the patchwork seams and the interfacing, it was already pretty stiff, so I wasn't concerned that my bag would be overly floppy. I assume it's going to stand up neatly just like that one without the fusible fleece. However, if you prefer to put fleece or batting inside, go for it. So I'm going to set this aside. I saved the 2, the bag ends, which is this piece, to kind of show you how I quilt them. And I start I overcut some batting for the background, and these are the denim patches that I used the included template with. And we're just going to do a simple grid-like line. I'm not measuring, I'm not doing anything super crazy, but I wanted to show you how I did that. Just simply lay your side panels on your batting or your fusible fleece, whichever you are using. And I lengthened my stitch to a 3.5 length, and it's just a straight stitch for a medium weight woven fabric. And I'm just freehanding. And if you prefer to do, if you want yours kind of absolutely perfect, you are more than welcome to either draw out a grid with some chalk, or you could use quilting bars. You could use painter's tape is another good way to get nice lines, but I'm just kind of guesstimating the distance between my lines to the needle. Let me put it down so you can kind of see, and that's maybe 3/4 of an inch. And again, you can pick what size you want to do. Maybe you want to do straight lines, or maybe you want to do like free motion quilting. Absolutely up to you. But I just wanted to kind of show you what I was doing for my end pieces. And since these pieces didn't have the patchwork like our main bag parts, this denim isn't as thick, therefore I wanted to add a little bit more stability. Possibly if you use like a home deck fabric, you wouldn't need to do this extra quilting, but really I think it just kind of looks nice. I think the key to making anything you're making yourself, the key to taking it from just like homemade, you know, to handmade a little nicer is the details. Do the nice finishes. If you're going to the trouble of making something, you should make it nice. You should be proud of it. So the devil is in the details. And as you can see, this is going really fast. You could chain piece this if you had a couple bags going at once. Make it really fast. If you were doing a free motion quilting, it would probably actually go even faster. You wouldn't have to cut threads at the end of each row like I'm doing. But even so, even doing that, It's not, it's a quick process. That's why I wanted to show you guys on video. So I feel like sometimes newer sewists get a little bit intimidated. And you'll see me occasionally pulling that top thread out just because I didn't pull it long enough before I cut my thread and I didn't want it to come unthreaded. But it happens. It happens to me all the time. My needle comes unthreaded because I don't leave my tails long enough. Because as a quilter, I chain piece. So just one right after another. I hardly ever cut the thread. But when you're doing a project like this, you can't avoid it. So I have to remember to leave myself a thread in. It's kind of funny. My mom has a machine she got last January, this past January. And no matter what I sew, it can be one thing or 100. Every time I thread the needle. It's an absolute nightmare. I tell her machine is cursed. And as you can see, or I hope you can see, we have our grid lines one direction, and now I'm just going to cross hatch them. Just, again, I'm just eyeballing it. Nothing too fancy. I'm not a perfectionist by any means. Just make it look nice. It's kind of looking like a little bit of a mess with all these threads everywhere. But once we cut out around them, we won't even know. People are going to be amazed you made this little purse. And again, I'm going to make a little makeup, like maybe not even a makeup bag. Maybe it's a pencil bag or maybe a snack bag. You can make whatever you want. Sometimes I'm a little bit shocked, I guess, when I see people posting online asking for other people's opinions on how to do something, and I'm just like, well, this is your project. What is your goal? Like, what do you want to use it for? You should make those decisions for yourself and decide what you want to do with it. I think the beauty in sewing is that you get to make those choices. Nobody should dictate to you what your outcome is going to be. Like, I'm going to show you. It kind of frayed a little bit there on the edge. It's going to be fine. That's going to be in the seam allowance. So, I'm not worried about it. Not a major catastrophe. As you can tell, sewing is what I do to relax. Like, I try not to get too wrapped up in the details. I quilt. I've recently, well, maybe in the past year, I've started making like purses and bags. But I'm also a garment maker. And sometimes the details, I get frustrated if there's a lot of them. Like, I don't want to spend a week sewing one thing. So there you have it. You can see that I have quilted my my 2 panels fully. And again, I just use my rotary cutter, cut out around it. If you need to, you can absolutely use a straight edge ruler to do this. For the sake of time, I'm quickly doing it, but it's going to be fine. If there's a little bit of batting, no problem, because seam allowance. Don't worry about the small details. So you can see how quickly those panels quilted up. I made my mom, may have been last year for her birthday, maybe the year before, I quilted a large tote bag for her. The exact same process. This technique works no matter the size of the project. So there you have it. 2 panels. And the next step is going to ask you to find the middle. I just simply fold it in half, place a pin, And the same thing with our bag, the outer portion of it. Line up the edges, place a pin. Set that one up to the side. And then you will assemble by matching your 2 middle pins, your middle marker points, together at the center of your bag. And then you're going to carefully just line up your edges all the way around. And I'm doing this kind of quickly because I know that my camera will record 12 minutes. And at that point it will turn off without notice. So you can use a couple pins to hold it in place. And I like clips, if you prefer, whichever. Clips or pens, they both work. Sometimes you kind of gotta fiddle with the corners just a bit. But I found that sometimes I couldn't make them look really nice as I was pinning or clipping, but when I was able to start and stop sewing, then I was able to adjust and they turned out fine. But I wanted to show you the clipped in place side. And as you can see, the side panel is just a bit taller than the body of the bag, and that was intentional, so you'd have a little extra maneuvering room if you got tangled up in the corners in a little bit and maybe didn't get it totally even and you just needed a little bit of extra space. But what you'll do is now you'll sew carefully around this edge. Back stitching. I back stitched at the top, and I did some